The Michigan Wolverines, for the first time in school history, are playing the Fresno State Bulldogs. Michigan is favored by 21.5 points. And this is in Ann Arbor, in the Big House. And you can clearly see that Vegas is factoring in the fact that Michigan's only returning 40% of their production, that they have a new, very unproven quarterback, and that Fresno State returns Mikey Keene. I mean, that's what the pause was for, is Fresno State has a good quarterback. They don't have a bum. They don't have someone who was once good, but they have a good quarterback. Good as in now. Mikey Keene had 24 passing touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 2,976 passing yards last season. At UCF, in 2 seasons, he had 22 passing touchdowns, 7 interceptions, over 2,000 passing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. And he's played behind good offensive lines at UCF and Fresno State and in good offensive systems. He only had last season a 76th placement in terms of QBR. He had a 56.6 QBR, but I would classify him as a good quarterback. You have to remember that being at Fresno State, his supporting cast is limited, and QBR does like teams that are good. They don't just really factor in the quarterback. You will notice that the best QBs are typically on the best teams in QBR, more than passer rating or more than any other metric. And that's typically the case in college football, but there are sometimes some exceptions to that. And Mikey Keene can certainly be that for Fresno State. Fresno State also has some challenging players at running back with Malik Sherrod. Malik Sherrod last year had 966 rushing yards, 9 rushing touchdowns, averaged 5.6 yards per carry on the ground. Mac Delana, Jalen Moss, and Cheddon James are the projected starting wide receivers. Mac Delana last year, he had 509 receiving yards, 3 receiving touchdowns. Jalen Moss had 706 receiving yards and 6 receiving touchdowns. There are pieces on the offensive line who are back. All starters are going to be seniors except for right guard Campbell McHard. On defense, last season Fresno State had 30 sacks, 42 passes defended, 17 interceptions. Their leader in sacks last year was Jacob Holmes, and he is going to be in the rotation at defensive tackle. Their leader in interceptions last season, actually passes defended, was Maurice Norris, and Maurice Norris is not back with the program, but that secondary is still deep, returns a lot of good players. Carlton Johnson was first in interceptions last year with 4th. He doesn't return, but as I already have said, those are great players who left last year. A lot of the good players still return. So the defense, the offense, gives something to test Michigan a bit, I think, in Fresno State. But Michigan returns a plethora of talent defensively. That's why they're favored by 21 points, which if you took away Vegas's home field advantage number, and this was neutral field, Michigan would be favored by 18. They'd be favored by 15 points on the road. And this is over one of the better group of 5 teams. They did lose their head coach, Jeff Tedford, to health issues. Prayers to him, and hopefully he gets healthier. But this is still a very talented team. The question for Michigan is, how good will the quarterbacks play? Davis Warren had 5 passing attempts last year. He threw a pick, didn't complete any of his passes. He actually had a negative 40 passer rating last year. He's competing with Alex Orji, who threw no passes last year. But Orji, to his credit, ran for 86 yards and a touchdown, and is, I would say, just watching him and how he's played against, whether it's Ohio State or Alabama or some of these smaller schools in design run packages, he is a good scrambler. Those two are the quarterbacks for Michigan, and a winner of the competition hasn't been decided yet. I would say that Alex Orji is the front runner, but the competition is still pretty tight right now, and that leads me to believe that Michigan's quarterback room isn't great. Maybe it's good at best or above average, could even be below average or bad. We'll have to see. But that's the big question mark because, I mean, heck, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Davis Warren's transformed and Alex Orji's Lamar Jackson. Or maybe, Alex Orji's Tate Forcier and Davis Warren is Nick Sheridan. I mean, the range of outcomes are that big. We don't know what they are yet. And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle there. Michigan will probably have just an above average, maybe good quarterback room. And the starter won't be top 25, but probably will be top 50, top 40, maybe a little higher than there. That's the question. How do the QBs play? Especially with the fact that Michigan's returning leading wide receiver is Samaj Morgan with 204 receiving yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. Their leading receiver, not wide receiver, is tight end Colston Loveland, who had 649 receiving yards and 4 receiving touchdowns last year. Donovan Edwards also had 249 receiving yards last season. So how do these players, Tyler Morris, Samaj Morgan, Donovan Edwards, Colston Loveland, how do they perform in the passing game? And how does Davis Warren and or Alex Orji, if we see both of them or just one of them, perform in the passing game and even in their duties to escape the pocket, sense pressure, escape the pocket? How does Michigan's offensive line hold up against a Fresno State defense that was a respectable unit last season? Michigan defensively, I just think returns far too much talent to let Fresno State come in and win a game like this. So I have Michigan winning and covering 34-27, but I don't have Michigan winning by more than 30 points. And I think that's because, A, challenging opener, Michigan still is unsure a little bit about their identity on offense and at quarterback. I shouldn't have said identity on offense. They're still going to ground and pound. I think have one of the best rushing attacks in the country, but they're unsure about their passing game and their quarterback position especially. That's number one, the fact that they're facing a tough opponent with as much turnover as they have. That's the obvious. Number two is also pretty obvious once you peel over the first layer or two of the onion, is Texas is the following week. And I think Michigan is going to play this game ugly, a little bland, and try and save some things for Texas. And I expect the same thing, by the way, with Texas against Colorado State. I wouldn't touch that game or this game in terms of betting whatsoever. I just think that Michigan will win. They'll win 34-7, kick a few field goals, score some touchdowns with long drives, and just get on out of there after maybe being challenged for like the first half or maybe for the first quarter, or maybe they look ugly in all 4 quarters, but just look like the better team in all 4 quarters as well and win this game covering the spread. I'd believe Michigan just with what they bring back at running back and on the O-line, which doesn't look like much, but is more than people believe. And also defensively with Mason Graham returning. Mason Graham had 3 sacks last year. Kenneth Grant had 3.5. Josiah Stewart had 5.5. Derek Moore had 5. With them returning on the defensive line and also Will Johnson returning at corner, he had 4 interceptions and 4 passes defended. I do think Michigan wins this game handily, probably run for over, I would say 200 or at least 150 rushing yards. Pass, I would say for over 150 or over 200. And then the defense will put on a pretty constricting performance. Thank you for watching this cut of Touchdown Talk. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, comment your thoughts down below, and share this video around to other college football fans. I want to give a special shout out to my Patreon members for sponsoring this channel and video. Thanks to Crash2488 and Braska Rascal for being Heisman members. Thanks to Chris Lane, Connor Little OH, Ismar, and Tyler Nye for being All-American members. And thanks to John Lynn, Roaming Gnome, Matthew Sale, Austin Christmas, and Janisha Cockrell for being all conference members. If you want direct message access to me, and also after 6 months of membership, free signed College Football with Sam merchandise delivered to your door, merchandise of your choosing, I may add. Sign up as a Heisman member for $25 a month and stick around for 6 months. All American membership is $10. All conference membership is $5. If you want merchandise regardless, check out my merchandise store via the link in the description or down below in the pinned comment. It's high quality stuff. I wear it for all of my streams, and that's because it's comfortable, high quality, athletic, stretchy. It's really good clothing, and I encourage you to check out my merchandise store along with my Patreon page, which are in the links in the description and in the pinned comment. Have a great day, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.